everyone, welcome to After Class with Ballet for All,
a podcast by two passionate adult ballerinas about all things adult ballet related.
and some random thoughts in between.
We're so glad you're here.
So grab your water bottle
Or a cup of coffee.
and join us for a quick chat after class.
Welcome to the Ballet for All podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about coming back to ballet class after taking a break or being on holiday. So we talk about things like going into your first class with curiosity instead of expectation, being kind to yourself and giving yourself grace, having the self-control to not go all out even if you're feeling good, and taking extra care with your body after your first class back. Let's get into it. Hi, Elena. How are you?
Hello, Anna. Very good. Thank you. How are you doing after your holidays? First, you have Labor Day, and then you had also a week camping. How are you feeling?
Yeah, yesterday was Labor Day in the US. We had a long weekend, which was really nice. I ended up working a little bit anyway, just because, like you mentioned, the month of July and August for us was just nonstop for me and my husband. So we did like a lot of traveling, a lot of hosting. And so our normal work schedule has just kind of been on pause. And so that all ended like last week. And so even though yesterday was a holiday, we both were like, we should probably get at least some work done. So that's what we did.
So that's good. Well, and you did enjoy your holidays, and now you're going to try to get back to your normal routine, which involve 5 or 6 ballet classes a week, 3 or 4 YouTube classes. On top of that, you do your point classes and stretching. And
we're back. I know, which leads us right into today's topic. We thought we were talking about this, I think, last week in my point private. And then we're like, we should just record an episode about what it's like coming back from a holiday and kind of tips to help you transition back into dancing after a holiday, because it is, it has its challenges when you give your body a rest. Like it's a really good thing to give your body a break and to kind of step away from the studio, let your mind have a break, let your body rest a little bit. But there are challenges associated with taking a break and coming back. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
definitely. And that's going to be something that we are all going to relate to. Me, as a teacher who is trying to get back into training again, it's very taxing. You just kind of start straight as you think, oh, I left it at this level. That's the level I'm going to go back to. Nope. It doesn't work that way. So what do you think, Hannah?
Yeah, it's so true. You have to, I think managing your mindset and your expectations is maybe the most important part of coming back into the studio after a break. I know in the States, it's been summer. I know in Australia, it's been winter, but in the States, it's been summer, which is the time that most people go on break. Sometimes the studios even close. And so like you mentioned, it's a very common experience to dancers, but the mindset part, I think, is one of the hardest parts. Your holidays end, you come back, you walk into the studio. And I think for me, something that I really try to do is to go into my first class, instead of having really high expectations, coming in with more of like a curiosity mindset, just to see how my body feels. Because I think that if you come in and you have expectations of being exactly where you were before you left on holiday, you're probably just going to get frustrated. So coming in and thinking, okay, I'm curious to see where my body's at, how my body's going to feel, what feels tight, what hurts, what is the most challenging part of this class. Like I think sometimes for me coming back in, the challenging part, in addition to all the physical stuff, is having to jump back into remembering choreography. Sometimes my mind is a little slow to click back into ballet mode of like, wait, what was that combination? So just noticing those things, I think, is a really good way to enter into your first class mentally.
As a teacher, I will say that I totally agree with that mentality. I will appreciate way more you coming back from your holidays thinking, okay, let's see where is my body at right now. Not where I left it, but now, because it's just going to be very, very frustrating if you go with very high expectations for no reason. Meanwhile, it could be very exciting getting with that curiosity to class and being like, I'm almost at the same level that I left. So if you just come with a very open mind of let's listen to my body and see what's happening, that could be really refreshing. You could either surprise yourself and not frustrate yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I honestly go so far as to even just tell myself in advance going into the class, like, it's okay to suck. Like, the first class back doesn't count. Like, that is what I tell myself, because I think when I go in with that mindset of the first class is kind of just a free pass, and I don't have all these expectations that I'm clutching to, that like my confidence is tied to or my self-worth is tied to. It's just like, whatever, it's a free pass, or it's fine. If I suck this class, okay, I have another one tomorrow. My headspace is so much better, and I'm able to just take the class for what it is and not bring in all this tension of this like preconceived expectations.
It's true. Just having the mind open of like what you said. Today is just free pass. Whatever happened. Then tomorrow I put in function. I will use the feedback from today. The goal, I think, the whole thing of this is listening to your body constantly. Sometimes you don't feel that you need to go on holidays, but your body's constantly telling you, look, you will sprain your ankle, your knee hurt, you fall walking down the stairs, you stood up today and you cannot do a first position. What is your body telling you? Take a break. It's not getting stronger. It isn't keep working hard, put more repetitions. No, it's telling you, hey, let's take a break.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think exactly what you said of like using that first class to go into the rest of the classes for that first week back more informed. I know for me sometimes it's like, oh, my back is a little bit tense. Like sometimes if we went on a holiday that involved a lot of driving and we were sitting in the car for a long time and I come back and I'm like, oh, my lower back's tight. And I noticed that in my first class back. And so then when I go into the rest of the week, I can be mindful about if I need to modify things. Or so I think, just like we said, I think the first class really just gathering information about where you are.
Yeah, definitely. I think something else is that don't talk yourself down is the first class. Just be very gentle, because the reality is, if you take a break from anything, if you come back to it, it will always take you time. Like if you haven't been on your computer for a month, it takes time to remember how to even turn the computer on, because you've been off for a month.
Yeah, and I think starting your first class back being very negative in your self-talk is not going to start you off on the right foot for this next season of training. You know, I think when you're coming back into the studio, every time you take a break, I like to approach coming back into the studio as kind of a little reset. And I obviously want to go into that with the best mental health possible and the most, positivity and motivation and feeling good. And I think if you, in that first class, if you spend it just like berating yourself for not being good enough and being negative, that's not going to feed a desire and an excitement and enthusiasm for your training. It's just going to make you feel defeated and have negative kind of associations even with being back in the studio. And so the more positive your self-talk can be, the more grace you can give yourself in that first class, it'll in the long run help you stay motivated. Because if your first class back is super negative, you're not going to feel super motivated to do the rest of your classes that week. Whereas if you give yourself grace in that first class and your self-talk is encouraging and positive and you're giving yourself the room to make mistakes and not be full out, then you're going to feel a lot more inspired when you wake up the next morning to go to your next class.
It's true, definitely. And it's not going to help. Never, ever talking yourself like, God, what am I doing this? I cannot even do a releve. What am I doing a period? I cannot even. That's never, ever going to help. So,
yeah.
So get rid of that idea and just be very mindful, very gentle to yourself, very loving and caring. Just one step at a time.
Yeah, that's so true. Moving into the physical aspect, I think it's important to resist. Say you are feeling really good coming back, I do think it's important even to have the self-control to not go all out in your first class back. even if you're feeling good, because staying strong and avoiding injuries is a long game. And going too hard in your first class back, you might be feeling really good mentally, but if your body has not reacclimated to that level of activity, it can definitely make you vulnerable to injury. And then also, even on a lesser note, just to being too sore to enjoy your next class. Like if you do class, almost every day, and you come back and you're feeling good, and so you just go all out in your first class back, you might be pretty sore the next day. And so I always try to really pace myself coming back from a break, because I have had, holidays where I come back and I'm like feeling rested and feeling good, and I'm like, oh, I feel great. Okay. And it's like having that self-control to be like, okay, you might be feeling great, but your body needs a minute.
Yeah, that's something that I see as a teacher a lot. And I will say, first, be mindful of that. When to recognize that you're going full on when you shouldn't. Yeah, to tone down a little bit. Also, tell your teacher, because although they will notice that you were away, they wouldn't remember that it was for 2 classes or 3 classes or a whole month. So just tell, hi, Miss Yelena. Remember that I just got from holidays. It's been a long month. I'm just going to take it slow. Because the way I will react as a teacher, I will try to keep in mind to tell you, hey, Hannah, don't do the plie relevé, plie relevé, plie relevé, because there are too many repetitions. You're going to get tired. Just do one, take your time, and then do your pirouettes after that. That way you don't get too many repetitions over one leg and you don't get too tired. Because I know that the next day with the sore muscles, then you're just probably not going to join to class. Because if you are very sore, it's impossible to join to the next class. So as a teacher, tell your teacher they might be able to modify the steps if you, for some reason, didn't know how to modify them yourself. Or ask the question, I think this is going to be a little bit too much for me today. What about if I do this? And your teacher will be like, oh, yes, sorry, that's right. You can definitely scale down everything. Or don't do that, do this. So I think recognizing by yourself, but also involving your teacher is a great way to come back slowly. The teachers, we are always very willing to help and guide you, specifically guiding you through your comeback.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's such a good point with modifications when you're coming back, because if there's a lot of people that the teacher's trying to focus on, and so it's like you said, it's so good to remind them, oh, I'm just coming back, if they don't remember, and then just say, I might modify some things. And then, and I think if you're in a class where the class is huge, or you don't have that type of like personal relationship with your teacher, you're an adult, so you don't have to ask permission to modify necessarily. Like say your hip's bothering you and they're doing a lot at the barre with passes, keep it in coupe. And like, who cares if people think you're not doing the choreography right, whatever. At a certain point, you have to take care of your body and just remember that you're an adult. I feel like it's so easy in ballet. Sometimes we immediately go back to this mindset of feeling like we're children who don't have any agency to do what we need to do. And we just have to listen to exactly what the teacher says. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all adults. Yeah. Do what you need to do.
You can leave in the middle of the class because you feel like you can't finish the class. You don't have to stay until the end. Yeah. Obviously, wait until the exercise finishes.
There is no shame. And if you need to leave early, I've had classes back from a break before where we get to Grand Allegro and I'm like, I'm sitting this one out, guys. Like, I'm sitting this one out and watching you guys and cheering for you from the sidelines because my body is not there yet. So there's no shame in that.
I think something very important to keep in mind, and is specifically important when you come back from holidays, is taking care of your body after the ballet class.
Yeah, I definitely try to be really disciplined when I'm coming back from a holiday with stuff like that, because I also too, I think when you're taking class every day, it's easy to get a little lax on some of the recovery stuff, but that first class back or the first few classes back, I think not skipping, stretching, foam rolling, all the things that are going to really keep your muscles hydrated and relaxed, and all the things that you can do to support your body in recovery. Icing, We actually have a whole podcast episode where we talked about
Yeah.
our favorite recovery methods. So if you need ideas for recovery coming back from your holiday break, then definitely listen to that episode because we talk about our favorites. But yeah, this is not the time to skip your recovery
Definitely.
methods after a holiday. That's like when you really want to lean into doing those things, even if you get a little more lax other times.
Yeah, you would really want to go home and have your ice ready, your foam roll ready, your golf ball or therapy ball to roll your legs and your foot and your cup. It's so many good stuff for recovery, and your body really, really appreciate it. You will even sleep better.
Yeah, I've been trying to get back into being more disciplined with foam rolling. And it's so funny because it's one of those things where when I'm not doing it, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And then when I
Yeah.
go back to doing it, I'm like, this is incredible. What have I been doing? Why haven't I been foam rolling? And now that I'm
It's
on
so
a
much
roll,
true.
literally, haha, on a roll with foam rolling, it's just so good. Like I'm just noticing all these tight spots in my up
Hips?
my IT band and then up into my hips and my glutes. I have these just spots in my glutes where I'm
So
just
good.
getting on the foam roller. And I do really think it's just helping me not be as tight. Like I feel a little bit freer. And I've been having this pinching pain in my hip. And since I started foam rolling regularly over the last couple weeks, I feel like it's finally starting to go away. And so I'm like, is it the foam roller? I don't know for a fact, but
I
think it might
I
be.
would raise my hands and I would say yes. Like I have sometimes this little pain on my knee, and I know that it comes back every time when I'm having lots of classes continuously and I don't foam roll my legs. It just gets really tight on top of the knee. It's like right where the quads finish towards the knee, right there. And it's like this little bit of a pain, which is not painful, but it's uncomfortable. And I just roll bits by bits my legs from the knee up, and it just disappears.
Yeah, if you're an adult dancer and you haven't tried foam rolling yet, I definitely recommend it because you can get foam rollers that aren't that expensive. For the cost to buy one, the payoff is incredible.
The magic foam roll.
So the last points to wrap up the episode that I think is super important coming back from a holiday is hydrating and fueling your body both before and after class. I know a lot of times when we go on vacation, we go on our holiday break, a lot of times that equates to eating and drinking, usually not necessarily the most nutritious foods. And then if it's a summer holiday, it's also spending a lot of time in the sun, in the heat. And so making sure you're going into your first class really hydrated and with a meal or several meals, if you can kind of plan in advance for that, where you're really building your nutrition intake back up before you jump back into class. So starting like we talked about in the episode with the dietitian, getting your protein in, really starting to think about those types of things as you're preparing to head back into your normal class schedule is so important because obviously the things that we put in our body are fuel. And so we need to make sure that we have fuel in our bodies before we just jump straight back into class.
Yeah. Something really important, which I probably mentioned plenty of time, and it's so unfair where we don't like kids to drink water during the ballet classes. But ballet comes from a very old school traditions and different mentality when there were not that many studies that now we know the direct correlation between hydrating and muscles being more squishy, more easy to stretch, more easy to bend, the more water we drink. So remember again, you're an adult. You are in a ballet class where the teachers understand that if you have to drink water every 20 seconds, just drink as much water as you get during the class as well. So get ready before, drink water, lots of water during the day, eat your food, all the proteins, all the intakes that you need to be very energetic during the class. But make sure that you drink water within the class.
Yeah, and I love adding, this is something I just started doing probably in the last like month or so, is I started adding electrolyte powder into my water. And I really do feel like it's making a difference as far as maintaining my energy through a full class. Like I don't
That's
feel
awesome.
like I'm dropping off as much because it's got that, you know, that little extra, got like the minerals and the little bit of sugar. And I'll actually put a link in the podcast notes because there's a specific brand that is so great that I'm loving. Because a lot of times you have to be careful with adding powders into your water because a lot of them
Yeah.
have fillers and like dye and a bunch of other unnecessary ingredients that aren't good for you. And these are like a very, very pure, it's literally just what is helpful and not all of the gross
Awesome.
stuff that gets added with things like Gatorade and other stuff. So I'll link those in the show notes.
Yeah, so I hope that this has been a very helpful podcast, if not entertaining.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Bye. Thank you for listening to After Class with Ballet for All.
Join the community on YouTube and Instagram, or come dance with us, our weekly Zoom classes for adult ballerinas like you.
Links included in the episode description. Special thank you to our sponsors.
See you next time after class. Podcast produced by Mission Bridge Media.